What's happening, gamers? It's Ran. Today's frame we're taking all the way to solo level cap is one that I've never really played too much before, as is a common theme with the recent frames, and it's Ivara Prime. Now, I'll be honest, Ivara's never really actually interested me too much. Crawling about invisible, walking everywhere, having to jump up onto those wires, none of it really screamed a lot of fun to me. But recently I've been seeing a ton of these clickbait video titles coming around. Ivara is broken, level cap, damage cap with ease. So obviously the time has come to find out for myself, and after taking her all the way to level cap, some of the hype is actually justified. Ivara's Artemis Bow can put out genuinely some good damage, but whether or not the rest of the kit is actually worth it, that's a different question. So let's get on to the builds and take a look at what we're working with. The entire build here is focused around Artemis Bow as our main source of damage. We're building around ability strength, efficiency and duration to keep Prowl and Zada's Whisper running comfortably, while also increasing the damage on our fourth ability. For the helmet, as I've mentioned there, I've replaced Ivara's second ability, Navigator, with Zada's Whisper. Navigator just really isn't particularly super useful for what we're trying to achieve here with the build, whereas Zada's gives us another damage multiplier that's really nicely interacts with Artemis Bow. For the augment here, we're using Empowered Quiver. This gives us a really nice bonus to our quiver of arrows, including 100% additional crit damage while on the dash wire, as well as giving Cloak Arrow 100% chance to prevent status effects. And this is actually something I completely misunderstood when I was recording this run, and obviously I couldn't read properly. I thought that it meant it would cleanse the status effects. It definitely does not. It prevents them. A small difference in words, but you'll get absolutely wrecked by status effects because you thought you were going to cleanse when you should have been trying to prevent. Just ask me how I know that. Wait till you see the run footage later. You'll know what happened. We're also using Equilibrium for energy economy, although honestly energy wasn't really a big deal throughout the run. We've got Corrosive Projection on here to help us deal with enemy armor a little bit, while Precision Intensify gives us an additional boost to ability strength, specifically on the 4 Artemis Bow. For the arcanes, we're going all in on strength and damage. We have Arcane Crepuscular, which gives us additional ability strength and increased crit damage while invisible, which we're always going to be invisible through the run using Prowl. We also have Molt Augmented, which gives us even more ability strength as we rack up the kills through the run. Idea here is pretty simple. Get yourself invisible, get all the buffs up and running, pull out the Artemis Bow, and then just start firing away. For the Archon shards, we're using 4 red shards. 2 of them are giving us ability duration, which is helping us to keep Prowl and Zada's Whisper running for longer, which is really useful here, so we don't have to keep recasting as often. And the other 2 are for status, and they help us with the Blast-focused Artemis build setup, which we'll talk about in a moment, and that helps us push those status effects out onto larger groups of enemies. We've also got a Tauforge's Amber casting shard, which is particularly useful on Ivara because we're going to be casting our abilities to refresh the buffs etc. through the run. The Artemis Bow is the exalted weapon of Ivara that this build revolves around. We've built it up around Blast to spread damage across groups, plus using Longbow Sharp Shot for a big damage boost on headshots. The fire mechanic actually makes this bow quite fun and unique to use. If you tap the ability, you can fire a straight vertical fan of arrows, but if you hold it out, the fan gradually rotates into a horizontal spread, so you can hold it for as little or as long as you want, and it'll change the spread variation. It scales actually really well as well. Even Thrax went down a single shot at level cap. It's the sort of damage that makes you sit back and go, okay, maybe those clickbait titles weren't exactly lying, and there is some utility here. For the build itself, weapons aren't particularly important. Artemis Bow is the one doing all of the heavy lifting for us. I brought the Ivara Prime in the primary slot though, which actually fits quite nicely with this setup with Zada's Whisper. We built it around Blast, and its special ability, Gale Force, gives us 100% ammo efficiency for 4 seconds when getting a headshot kill or 4 headshots from the burst. So while I didn't particularly use it often, it was a nice weapon to have as a backup. We've also got Hush on here to keep it silent when we're in stealth mode using Prowl. For the secondary, we have Epitaph Prime, which you all know by now what that does. It's great for priming, great for CC, and really helps supplement any kind of build where you're not focused on using your secondary for damage. And then lastly, for our melee, again, as you know, use this all the time, which is the Praetos. It's just really helpful for movement speed and getting around the tile sets, particularly here with Ivara, as you're locked in to either walking or rolling around the map if you want to keep your invisibility up. Companion here, nothing too flashy or different. We're using the Panzer Vulpaphyla, really straightforward. We're using this to give us some viral spreading and some additional damage support while we're focusing on using the Artemis Bow. It's just another great companion that you don't really have to think too much about, and the benefits of it spreading viral for you passively really help weapon focused or damage focused builds like this. The operator then, we're sticking to the tried and true setup that we've been using for quite some time now. Matter Eye Focus Skull, 547 amp. It's pretty much your standard Void Cascade setup. Matter Eye gives us additional strength and damage buffs, and the 547 gives us a nice flexibility on the primary fire, and the Glaive Vault fire is nice for last gasp if you do happen to go down. You guys all know the crack with this setup by now because I use it all the time. Make sure to like and share the video and sub the channel to keep up to date with the latest level cap runs. Okay, let's have a quick look at Ivara's abilities. Her passive isn't really that useful overall in today's Warframe. Ivara's passive grants her enhanced enemy radar and lets her detect enemies through walls. Really not the reason why you would ever be playing Ivara, but that's what it does anyway. Her one is Quiver. How this works is you have 4 different types of arrow: a cloak arrow, dash wire, noise arrow, and a sleep arrow. For this build, really what you should be focusing on is the cloak arrow for the status prevention and the dash wire for the additional damage and empowered quiver. Whether you want to use that or not is something we'll come back on to when we talk about the run in a little bit. Navigator, this is where we replace with Zada's Whisper. Basically what it does is allows Ivara to manually guide a projectile towards the enemy. Pretty cool idea, but for this setup and this run, Zada's Whisper is definitely a much better choice. Her 3 then is Prowl. This is what makes us invisible, turns Ivara invisible, and gives increased loot detection, but your movement is completely restricted. You can only walk and roll and just basic jump. Mechanically, very, very good, very safe because you're invisible. However, it's very slow and you have to be much more deliberate in your movements and when you cast it and don't cast it. The gameplay loop with Ivara is pretty simple. You throw out the dash wire, cast Prowl to go invisible, cast Zada's Whisper before you jump on the wire, because when you're on the wire you can't actually cast Zada's Whisper. Then you pull out the Artemis Bow and then just start firing away, and that's it. You're invisible, you're pretty hard to kill, and you're throwing out huge amounts of damage from one side of the room to the other with very little difficulty. The main thing you have to watch out for with this setup is status effects, especially with the mix-up that I had in the run with the stealth arrow preventing statuses rather than cleansing them. So the run itself was actually really interesting because it was a completely fresh run with Ivara. I've never really played her before and I wasn't expecting the gameplay to be something I particularly enjoyed, but once I got the build rolling and once everything sort of came online, I actually did really enjoy playing her. Probably the biggest difficulty that I faced during the run was the new Surge Eximus. I was totally not ready for these and they were only just released quite recently and I had no idea what their attacks were or how dangerous they could be. I actually thought they were only linked to the new Dungeons and Dragons type theme thing that Amir does in Helvania. So I was totally surprised by the fact that they were in Void Cascade and they completely caught me out. The reason that they were so difficult is because when I was invisible and on the wire, they seemed to still be able to track me and know where I was despite being totally invisible and despite using Hush, etc. The other part then was obviously the attacks that they do. The lightning attacks are particularly nasty and I had no way of actually cleansing them because I was using the cloak arrow wrong. So as you'll see in the gameplay here, when these guys appeared and I didn't deal with them quickly enough, they absolutely slapped me around the map. They are quite easy to deal with when you know how they work and you see the lightning appear under you and you hear the sound cue, but that took me a little while to realise, and not being able to cleanse the electric procs really was hurting me at times. The other issue that I had with Ivara was actually the dash wire. So even while I was invisible and those Surge Eximus were attacking me, it just made the wire even more annoying than I wanted it to be, and it just felt like it wasn't worth, because every time I went onto the wire a Surge Eximus would appear and cast their abilities on me and then I would be in trouble and not be able to cleanse them. So early on in the run I was constantly putting the wires down, jumping on them, but I eventually stopped bothering with that as I got later into the run because the Surge Eximus were so deadly to me while I was on the wire. The damage was still totally fine not using the wire, and really I was one-tapping Thrax right the way through to max level with ease using Artemis Bow. So after finally giving Ivara a proper chance, I do actually get it, and I completely understand why a lot of people love this frame, but at the same time, I do understand why people don't like it. The damage, absolutely ridiculous. The survivability, really, really easy. The ability to just walk through level cap essentially while you're invisible and casually delete swarms of enemies with Artemis Bow is super strong and super satisfying, but the movement is so slow and the wire mechanic is just really tedious. Wastes a lot of time and a lot of energy trying to work around it when it's not really necessary. Personally, I don't think Ivara will be replacing any of my favourite frames anytime soon, but I did absolutely underestimate her. If you enjoyed stealth type gameplay, setting up your shots, being like a walking sniper turret, Ivara is really, really strong and probably a great frame for you to try out. She's one of those frames where the more you understand her mechanics, the stronger and stronger she becomes. And if you're really patient and you like setting up those wires and everything else, she's really, really strong and can hit damage cap and everything else like those clickbait titles say. She can actually do it. Anyway, that's another frame all the way to level cap solo, and this one definitely surprised me, as I said. Before we wrap it up, we've got some huge news on the channel. We've officially been accepted into the YouTube partner program, which is totally crazy to me. So a massive thank you to everyone who's watched the videos, liked, shared, subscribed, left comments, just generally got involved with the channel, the polls and everything else we've been doing over these past 6 or so months. It's been really cool watching this little community grow around these level cap runs and the quest that we're on to try and get all of the frames done solo. We're really close to 1,000 subscribers as well, and probably by the time this video goes live, we will have hit that goal as well, which is actually class to see. So because of that, we're going to be doing a little giveaway to celebrate both the 1k subs and the partner program. I'm opening it up to you guys. I'm thinking either doing a prime frame of the winner's choice or potentially a prime citrine when she's released in the next update. Let me know what you guys would prefer down in the comments, and keep an eye out for the giveaway going live. I'll be posting it here on YouTube, but also I'll be posting it in the Discord, which will be linked in the description below as usual. It's a great place to share your builds, your fashion frame, ask questions, help out the other tenno in there, or just come and have a bit of crack with me in the community. If you've made it this far, as always, help me out with a like, share and a subscribe to battle the YouTube algo overlords. The next frame will be coming soon. It's one that's been requested quite a number of times by everybody, so stay tuned to see who it's going to be and make sure you don't miss it. Enjoy the gameplay here, lads, and until next time, take it easy.
Destabilizing the Zeraman is a foolhardy strategy. The Void has already started to degrade our enemy's judgment. You did well to stop them.
And so we learn the importance of clarity and purpose.